Hello and welcome back everyone. So today we're going to be doing this baby doll inspired design. I say design because it's a very versatile pattern and you could either make like a dress like the one Mariah has on right now, or you can do a little top like the one Mima has on. Alright, so this is the little sketch I did before making the pattern and everything, and this is the pattern piece which I will provide at the end of the video. Alright, so to get started we're going to go ahead and trace out our pattern pieces and go ahead and then place that piece of fabric over another one and pin them all around. Make sure the pins won't get in the way of the armhole or the neckline because that's the parts that we're going to be sewing. Only sew from the armhole and the neckline, and the little straps up top, do not sew into them. It'll probably peek through if you do, so just avoid that, leave them open, and just makes things easier for you. The main reason I suggest we use this big piece of fabric before we cut it out and sew into it is to keep the pattern pieces intact. Normally for doll sewing it's a smaller scale, so the weave of the fabric and everything tends to kind of fray easily, especially with our seam allowances being a lot smaller than regular, human scale sewing. So the needle usually tends to like poke through and just kind of destroy your piece. So it just avoids wasting fabric and it makes it easier to sew. So now you can go ahead and cut out all your pattern pieces out, and while you're doing that, just remember to go ahead and add little snips into all the curves on the neckline and the armholes, and that'll just help you have some nice curves once you flip it over, and then it'll look super crisp and really nice. So now we're getting to the part that tends to confuse a lot of people, so just stick with me and you'll get through it. So you're only going to turn the front side right sides out, so go ahead and flip it right sides out, and this is my front, and there it is. And now with the center back, you're just gonna pull the straps of the front one through the back one while it's still inside out. You get me? I think you get me. The video makes it super easy to understand if I didn't word it properly, but I really hope you guys get it. And if you don't, go ahead and ask me in the comments and I'll be super glad to help you out. And once you get them through, all you need to do is just go ahead and stitch over them, a straight stitch, and just trim a little the edges and the sides so that there's not that much bulk on the straps, and it'll allow them to kind of just fall nicely and kind of mold to the body a little better. So do not forget to trim them. Trimming reduces bulk, and bulk is the enemy of doll sewing. Before you sew your side seams together like the previous clip prompted you to, go ahead and top stitch all around the neckline and the armholes. You could either do the armholes after you sew the side seams or before. I do it after. It's a little trickier, but it's a lot easier. So this will actually keep the neckline a lot stronger and sturdier than if you just left it alone, since we did cut slits into the seam allowance, and that does really take away from its sturdiness and could fray over time. So once you got that top stitching out of the way, to sew the sides, all you really need to do is match up those side seams, make sure the seam allowance is facing the same direction, pin the middle to make sure it's aligned, and simply stitch at a 1/4 inch or 1/2 centimeter. Once you're done sewing, you kind of end up with something like this. And now you're all prepared to start getting creative, which is the funnest part of this project. Now for me, I do have to top stitch the armhole since I haven't done that yet, so I will quickly do that before we jump into all the fun. Okay, so this next part is my favorite part because you can kind of do whatever you want and get really creative and like really personalize the design. Once you really, get through that base pattern, what I'm doing, at first I really wanted to do a dress, so I went ahead and cut out a piece. I did save the salvage because it's already, a salvage. It looks pretty normal, like normal fabric, so I wanted to use it since I didn't have to hem it, in all honesty, and You know, it kind of would give it a nicer drape if I didn't have to hem it. So that's one of the big reasons why I like using selvages. So that aside, I went ahead and gathered it to the measurement of the top, which is about 10 inches all around. I'm not sure how much centimeters, sorry you guys who do use that measurement. I gathered it to the measurement of the top, and once I did that, I just sewed it all around and you were all set. Now for me, I kind of wasn't happy with how that looked, so I did a whole bunch of things, from trimming it, then fraying the end of the where I did the previous cut, then adding the part I cut again, but like with pleats, or like I did a whole different thing, but it really ended up looking really nice in the end because it was like layer upon layer of like different design aspects, from texture from the fraying, and volume from the gathers and the pleating at the bottom, and then adding more fabric. So it looked really interesting and fun. So do have fun with it, get creative, get in there, and just do whatever you feel that calls to you and you feel would look really cute and just kind of be your doll's aesthetic. So yeah, just go ahead and just have fun with it. That's the best advice I can give. And once you kind of determine what you want, all you really need to do is just go ahead and sew all around, as I'm doing right here in the video, and you're all set. So this is how the dress looked right away, right after sewing it, before doing any cuts to it or anything. And it would look nice from this view, but from its actual perspective that I had, it kind of bunched up a lot at the bust, and it just it was just all over the place and looked really excessive. So this was before I ironed it and did a lot of things to it. So if you do this, I do recommend you iron it and use a lot, like really thin fabric, so it doesn't bulk up like this, and it kind of drapes a lot nicer. So I really felt like it looked really simple and just kind of flat. So I went ahead and trimmed off about 3 inches, I believe, before kind of like going ahead and fraying the edge all around to kind of add like a little texture to it. Then I kind of felt like it was a little too long to be a t-shirt, but too short to be a dress. And then I kind of just reverted back to the idea of making it a dress. So then I went back to that piece I cut, and then I sewed it back on, and it was just like this huge process. But it was honestly a lot of fun and very stimulating for my mind, when I normally don't have this freedom to just go ahead and kind of do whatever I want without really finding a way to explain it. And this is one of those things where you get creative, you guys can see what I'm doing and replicate it easily if you'd like to, but you don't necessarily have to. So I do have that freedom to kind of create freely and kind of just sew. So it's very fun. So this is how the dress looks once it's all done in its final form, and I'm honestly really happy with it. I actually do still have to iron it. I will show you how it looks after, and here it is. It does kind of tone down the ruffles and make it look a little more better, in my opinion. It looks a little more casual and not too like fluffy all over the place. And I do feel like this pattern would work a little better with the extra small bust. So I do hope I can get one of those soon. So if anyone out there has one on sale, let me know. I'll happily buy it off of you. But yeah, so I do think it would look a lot better with that, especially the dress form. But here's the top on Mima that's short. It's the same process for everything. All I really did was just sew on a short piece of fabric. So that's how it looks. This is the full kind of like picture of the dress on Mirai once again, and this is them together. And that's it. That's basically it for today. And if you like the pattern, I will show it on the screen right now in a bit. And I just quickly want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you guys stick around for more, and I'll see you guys next time.